There's a concentrated effort to stop it. They'll do anything to stop us, especially now. Because when is our opposition?
He's been fighting for us for so long. So many schools of thoughts we've been through, yeah, to keep us strong. So tell me, what is it that you're willing to do to make our dreams come true? Yeah, make our dreams come true. Been a long time coming, but now we're here. So won't you stand up and show no fear? For the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. 'Cause he's a man of the hour. They kidnapped him for building Tamare. He put his life on the line for us all. And for the truth, the lies must fade away. Fade away. It's been a long time coming. Yes, let's be strong. For the 7 seals are breaking. It won't be long to make our dreams come true. For a life that's new. Some are called and few are chosen. How about you? For the master, master teacher. Freedom 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 for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Think not that we are earthborn, so come from earth we may be. But we are life-born spirit, and without knowing we could never be free. Knowledge of this was lost when we were cast into blindness. The master teacher came and broke the chains of bondage. For the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, bring it master teacher. Bring it freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, bring it master teacher. Bring it freedom for the master, master teacher. 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 Freedom for the master.
They did everything in their power to take this land and make sure that what's happening right now does not go on. They tried every trick in the book. They ain't finished. They tried slander, defamation of character. They tried to lock brothers up, harass sisters on the street, stop every car coming down and make sure they did everything they could. And not one person come out and help us. Why? Because they had us marked as a cult. Oh, there's some crazy suicide cult. There's a concentrated effort to stop it. They'll do anything to stop us, especially now. Because when is our opposition?
He's been fighting for us for so long. So many schools of thoughts we've been through, yeah, to keep us strong. So tell me, what is it that you're willing to do to make our dreams come true? Yeah, make our dreams come true. Been a long time coming, but now we're here. So won't you stand up and show no fear? For the master, fade away. Fade away. It's been a long time coming. Yes, let's be strong. For the 7 seals are breaking. It won't be long to make our dreams come true. For a life that's new. Some are called and few are chosen. And how about you? For the master, master teacher. Freedom 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 for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Think not that we are earthborn, we come from earth, we may be, but we are life on spirit, and without knowing we can never be free. Knowledge of this was lost when we were cast into blindness. The master teacher came and broke the chains of bondage. For the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, freedom, master teacher. Freedom for the master, bring a master teacher, bring a master for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, bring a master teacher, bring a master for the master, master teacher. Freedom 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 for the master.
They did everything in their power to take this land and make sure that what's happening right now does not go on. They tried every trick in the book. They ain't finished. They tried slander, defamation of character. They tried to divide brothers up, harass sisters on the street, stop every car coming down to make sure they did everything they could. And not one person come out and help us. Why? Because they had us marked as a cult. Oh, there's some crazy suicide cult. There's a concentrated effort to stop it. They'll do anything to stop us, especially now. Because where is our opposition?
He's been fighting for us for so long. So many schools of thoughts we've been through, yeah, to keep us strong. So tell me, what is it that you're willing to do to make our dreams come true? Yeah, make our dreams come true. Been a long time coming, but now we're here. So won't you stand up and show no fear? For the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. 'Cause he's a man of the hour. They kidnapped him for building Tamare. He put his life on the line for us all. And for the truth, the lies must fade away. Fade away. It's been a long time coming. Yes, let's be strong. For the 7 seals are breaking. It won't be long to make our dreams come true. For a life that's new. Some are called and few are chosen. How about you? For the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. Freedom for the master, master teacher. for the master. Freedom, master teacher.
Rahubat Musa. Greetings, family. Good to be back. Good to be back. We missed you guys, man. But yeah, glad to be back. This is Wu-Sabat live on OSM Vision. The live stream. Make sure you share. Get more people to know that we're live, Wu-Sabat. All right. Let's see who's on. Rahubat. Mustafa in the house. Rahubat. Coco Brown. Yeah, loyal followers. Yeah, good to have you back. Sonny Fro, Rahubat. Greetings. Who else we got? Marcia, Rahubat. Pharaoh, hello, Rahubat. Travis, Rahubat. Draco, Rahubat. Ashok. Good to be back, good to be back. Yeah, but you know, it's only 1 week. But we're here, we're live. Yeah, I'm gonna focus on the chat today. We're gonna get straight into it. Remember, there's only one master teacher. There's no competition when it comes to Wu-Sabat. There's no one else you can really mention that's willing to, yeah, put themselves on the front line like the master teacher has, like we do. But yeah, we definitely appreciate, love all of you. Adrian, Rahubat, Strawberry, Letter Rahubat. We love all of you guys for your dedication, support. Remember to share, like, subscribe, comment on the videos. That helps us with the algorithm. All right. Every little helps. You may not know how you might think something you're doing is insignificant, but it's actually really powerful. Hey, Rahubat, TikTok people, great to have you on board too. TikTok family in the house. Remember to subscribe. Help us so that we can keep giving you Wu-Sabat and getting Wu-Sabat to the world. It is the future anyway. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on you guys on TikTok as well. Okay, let's get into it. First question is from Mustafa. All right, being the definition of my name, I am. Since it's now Wu-Sabat, do we still do Ashutat? Okay, so for those who don't know what Ashutat is, it's our prayer system which all others stole and borrowed from. So we went from, for those who remember, we had the scroll Taful, then it went to Tafulat, and then Ashutat. Okay, let me see, I think I actually saw them when I was just grabbing a few scrolls. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, so Taful, and then we had Tafulat, and then the Ashutat, which I don't have around right now. But yeah, so with all of these scrolls, it's been a while. Okay, there you go. Yeah, it actually shows you in these scrolls. Let me see if the camera will pick it up. But it literally shows you, right, on yeah, let me show you. So it shows you how it evolved from our way of life. So for example, those who go into Islam, right, I'm gonna try and show you each picture. You can see on the walls of Egypt, right, you see the way they stand, and then we keep going. You see the hands, and you see every picture that you will find in all the prayer systems, such as in Islam, you find the positions. You see all of them, right? But yeah, anyway, so let's deal with prayer then. Prayer is the art of talking and not really listening. And what we do is really more meditation, which is the art of listening and not talking. And you can literally see all the prayer positions on the walls of Egypt that got grafted or borrowed into, say, Islam and other religions. So, prayer is communication between you and someone or something. And so, the Master asked a question once when he was raising us in degrees. And once he had taken us to a certain point, he was like, why do you need to pray? Because most people's idea of praying is just talking and asking and begging for stuff by way of religion. Help me with this, God, help me with that, Allah, help me, help me, help me. And he was like, the helping hand you're looking for is at the end of your own arm. And we then evolved to saying, okay, if you're communicating with somebody, they should be able to hear you, acknowledge you, and respond. And if they don't, then how do you know you're actually communicating with them? So really, the question about why do you need to pray is, are you sure of who you're talking to? In our culture, we know that our ancestors exist. So that's who we communicate with, and we don't look at them like a God or someone that's just there to just like you talk to and beg and ask for things. And, you know, we know that we're connected to them by way of being animist, by DNA, by blood, by etheric connection, so we can communicate with them. So the question of prayer is like, if you need to, right? It's not like you have to, as in, you know, with the Salat, it's in Islam, is one of the 5 pillars. It's like you have to pray this amount of times a day and face the east and do this and do that. So the question is, do we still do Ashutat? The answer is, everything we've been taught in terms of our spirituality, you can still do and practice if you wish to. However, the tones have changed. The language that we used to communicate is now, the tones have changed in the Misbatia. So, yeah, it's really a matter of preference, but there is congregational prayer, because that's another thing. There are 2 different ways of praying. You can pray in terms of you communicating for something that you need assistance with, and we do that by way of speaking with our ancestors through, you know, the ritual of communication. But there's also congregational or collective prayer in the sense of communication, where you're communicating collectively, vibrating on the same tones and vibrations, either in unison or in harmony. And we do that because it's more effective, more powerful when you're multiplying the effect in a congregational prayer or setting. So we do these things when we are in family. We refer to it as ranum, or chanting, okay, where we chant and we vibrate and we raise our consciousness up, and we all are asking for things beyond just our personal wants, okay? So then that goes all the way to the Pa Natharu, or the overseers, you see. So when you need assistance and you want to speak and request assistance for personal things, you would do that by way of your ancestors, yeah? Your Salafu, your ancestors. But when we're looking at it on a global or collective to do with not just personal wants. Remember, I didn't say needs, all right, or desires. It's more about wants. And so we would then collectively contact the ancestors that are known as the Natharu or the overseers. You see, we won't ask them just for something on a selfish me, myself, and I frame. Yeah. So Mustafa, I hope that actually answers your question in Wu-Sabat, but we want to bring it up to today in terms of you should be chanting. Yeah, doing the chant 9 a.m., 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. Right, that's when you should be doing it, because it continues ringing that tone, that voice, that new language. And that's, if everyone is doing that 9 a.m., 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. all around the world, then those vibrations are constantly resonating. All right, cool. All right, let's see, what's the next question? Sonny Fro, I've felt so alone for so long. Thank you. I'm not the master teacher. I'm a student of the master teacher, Sir Ken. All the student teachers, I thank you. We thank you too. But that point of feeling alone, it's actually something that you have to experience and overcome. The word alone, if you really look at it phonetically, is all one. And that's where you're aiming to go to be all one, as in one voice, one vibration. However, there's an isolation that takes place once you start to walk on this path. And it can be a bit lonely at that time because you are transforming and you can't really be around certain vibrations and certain people because you're now raising your consciousness and your vibration. You can't go to certain places anymore. You can't really entertain certain things anymore that are nonsensical or like low vibrational. So people don't get you or understand where you're coming from, and your eyes are open, your real eyes, right? So you see things differently, you think differently because your mind is now on a higher consciousness in terms of your connection and vibration. You start to tap into your other powers, your other senses. So if you're an empath, you're gonna feel things more. You're gonna see the world, because to be like the terms they use, like the being that people call God, because it's really you. To be that being, you can't see suffering, injustice, pain and suffering around the world and not be compassionate, because one of the attributes of this being is supposed to be love, right? So that love that you have, we call it ashuk, divine love, because divine love is unconditional. And so you start to become isolated when you're now not able to do the things you used to do that were putting you on low vibration. So even just like the words you use, you start to look and hear things differently. You know, you start to think, wow, like all of these things are connected. So that loneliness is not a bad one. It's a journey. It's something that you have to grow from. And many people will tell you that. Even in a crowd, they feel lonely because you're tapping into your inner being, the real you. That's the real you that feels, because remember that the so-called five senses that you have, which is to smell, to taste, to see, to hear, to touch, these are all only one, but it's been exaggerated. So that deals with your ability to be aware, yeah, awareness, to touch things and feel and know. But you have deeper senses that go into your telepathy, yeah, clairvoyance, your intuition, your psychometry. Now those are the powers that you start to develop And if you manage to get your barothry gland back, okay, there will be much, much more heightened. You'll be able to have full access to your being, your brain as a supreme being, and then you're tapped in more to the higher consciousness. We are now, but the more you develop, the more you're going to be in connection and in tune with that. So, yeah, I know that feeling, been through it. In fact, if you read chapter 4 of our book, The Spiritual Fast Track in Your Spiritual and Conscious Journey, that actually, it's almost like there are different phases you go through. And that one where you cut off from everyone, you go into yourself. You start to really isolate yourself. And if you think about it, most of the religious people that you know of, like before they receive this higher consciousness or spiritual information, they isolated themselves and go into a state where, like, go into a cave, or they seclude themselves. They go somewhere where it's peace and quiet, and to just tune into themselves and tap into the mental reservoir on a higher conscious level, and then they receive affirmation, or some would say inspiration, and then they come back and they share this message. You know, Moses had to go to the mountain. We know some of these stories are fabricated or distorted, but the point I'm making is that, yeah, that alone that you say you feel, that's natural, but don't allow it to overwhelm you, because it's growth, and you just have to be around like-minded people, other people that can relate and vibrate and be able to tell you that, you know, you're not alone, because we are all one. And that's what we're all aiming to do when we start to be able to come together under that type of vibration, under Ashuk, or divine love, as we say, yeah? All right. That was for you, Sonny Fro. Great question. Marcia, energy, up enough energy to one and all. Yes, raise that vibration. Sonny Fro, true talk, bro. Enough love, energy up to you. Okay. All right. Sonny Fro again. I have one question until next live. How do I get involved in your Houston location? I went and it was a house, not a bookstore. Okay, so that's a great question. Before we actually establish maybe a public bookstore, or a situation where it's open to the public, some people start off as having study groups, but the official locations are listed on our website. So you have to find the nearest one to you of those ones. And if it's a group of people in a location and they've decided to come together and have study groups where they're studying and learning and, you know, doing things, chanting together, maybe with the plan to then become a community or open a bookstore. So that may be the reason why where you're saying it was a house and not a store. So check out the ones on the website, UnitedSabiansWorldwide.com, and then, you know, get into our Telegram group as well, so that we can have a dialogue and communicate with you, and maybe find out if, you know, there's anything we need to communicate to you. All right. Pharaoh Halo. Okay. Rahubat. Curtis, Zamal, my question is, the three suns on the planet Risk, are they individual suns, or are they a triad of Reye, consisting of Atun, Amun? They are three separate suns, but obviously they affect the planet Risk. These are the three suns where, ironically, everything that you kind of are subjected to in this physical world seems to be in 3 dimensions, right? And, you know, tying into people, places and things. And in ancient times, those 3 suns, you know, became known as Utu, Apsu, and Shamash, right? Shamash, you can hear the word Samson from Samson, or that all relates to the sun. But there are three different suns, and the three of them actually direct their rays on the planet Risk. Yeah. And when you start to look at, like the primary colors, you'll have like red, yellow, and blue. Yeah. And those three colors are representative of the suns of Risk as well. And those three are the ones that give you all the other colors, because it's the combination of the mixture of the rays of those that will give you specific colors. So all the colors you see, they're actually vibration or frequencies on a particular hertz or vibration in terms of light, yeah, and sound. So they all have a purpose, and because you can't have any other colors that we can recognize from the primary colors. So for example, any color you can think of right now will be a combination of those three, but there are colors outside of that, because the visible light, or the light spectrum, is going from the red. If you look at all the colors, will go from the red and then go all the way to what they will call the ultraviolet or the purple. And then after that, you're going into vibrations of ether or dark, or what we say supreme balance. Yeah. So yeah, that's giving you why those three separate suns are referred to individually as, as I said, it depends on the culture as well. In ancient Egypt, as you said, they will be referred to as Atum, Atun, and Amun. And then you will have the black sun, or the one that is hidden from Amun, because Amun is the hidden one, right? But then it goes into that darkness known as Anun. Yeah. And in ancient Egypt, when they speak of creation and the beginning of things, they tell you that, you come from the waters, or the Nun, or the darkness, or primordial. Like they talk about prime, meaning the word prime actually means first, or the first ones, right? So you come out of the waters, from the darkness, from that darkness of Anun, and then you come out. In fact, yeah, look, if I could just show you this diagram here. If you were to imagine that being the atom, that would be a ton, that would be a mun, and then this bit here is referred to as the black sun. You see the other sun there, right? So coming out of there, it's a cycle of life, and how things came out of the waters, out of darkness, into the what you call the three positions of the sun. So they will say this is rising, the rising of the sun, and then this will be the center, or the middle point at the highest, or the zenith, right? And then this will be, they say, setting of the sun, and then it will go back in ancient times, what they refer to as the underworld, and then come up again. But that also relates to the story of creation. Yeah, so those three sons of Risk tie into a lot of things, as I was saying, to do with, what we perceive on the three dimensions. But we know there are other layers to that, because the darkness, or the black, goes into a time before light, and goes into the time where once sound came in, right? Because the echo of that vibration is what produced the different vibrations that we would refer to, say, in music, for example, where you have the eight notes, or the 7 notes plus the octave, giving you those 8 tones. And the 3 notes we call the triads form a chord, as in the major or minor triad, which is you're taking the first, the third, and the fifth. And you look at a pyramid, yeah, the pyramid has those 3 points. And again, it goes into science, because the 2 points always give you that duality. So you go from hot to cold, or black to white, or do you know what I mean? You always have the 2 sides, but then the middle point is the balance, okay, where you then become the being that is standing in that center point. And then you take those 3 chords, because even the 3 pyramids in Egypt, the Giza Plateau, those pyramids also align with the belt of Orion, because Orion is the belt of Orion is that gateway where you went through to go back to other galaxies from the 18th galaxy, which is ours, to go to the 19th galaxy, which is where Risk is, which is Ilion, the 19th galaxy, which is next door. So the 3 align with the pyramids in Egypt, and each one of those pyramids, like Khufu's pyramid, what they call Khufu's pyramid anyway, has a vibration and a frequency, tying back to, like I was saying, the sound, where you take the first note, the third note, and the 5th note to play those 3 in harmony, okay? And then when you look at music, you would have the middle, we say middle C, and to the left, we say that's the bass clef, or the registers of sounds, the deeper tones representing the male. And then in the middle, right, you have the middle C, and then you have to the right representing the female. And of course, the male and the female come together to produce the offspring, or the children. You see, so this is how that mother, father, child, 3 tones. And that all ties to so much things to do with being in the 3-dimensional world. But you have to remember, when you're looking at something, if I drew the pyramid like that, really, you're looking at a triangle. Triangle, 3 points. However, when you start to look at dimensions, you start to look at it in depth. So it's not just 3, because you're looking at 3 from one face, okay? And each face, if you then add the other faces, excuse me, it's gonna become like how if you had a face of a square and you had the other faces, where you can now say, okay, I'm looking at one perspective from one side. But if I'm looking that way and there are other sides, that means I'm missing information, right? So if you took a square, which is equal to a circle, right? Because of the mathematical degrees, in terms of they're both equivalent to 360 degrees. But if you took a square and then made it into a cube, now you're not only looking from one side, but you're looking from the side, you're looking from this side, you're looking left, right, you're looking up, down, you're looking basically in all different directions when you start to look at the points. But each point is 3. Now to get to that, you have to put a mathematical function to those 3 points, where if you look at maths in its basic form, you have you can subtract. So 3 minus 3 is going to be what? 0, or empty, right? 3 plus 3 is going to give you what? 6. But to get the highest, you have to do multiplication, because if you divided 3 by 3, you're going to get 1. But if you multiply, which means to increase, to get more of, you're going to get 9. 3 times 3 is going to give you 9. So that's the way you have to look at things. But that 9, in terms of numbers being the highest number, if you carried on doing multiplication on the 9, because 9 will always add up to 9. So for example, if you did 9 times 9, which are you going to get? I think you get 81, right? 81, you add 8 plus 1, you're going to get 9. You know, you can do 9 plus 9, what you're going to get? 18, right? 18 is going to be 1 plus 8, it's going to give you 9. Try it, you will see it anyway. So the point I'm making is that even though we're talking about 3, as you keep multiplying that 3 to the 9, then from the 9, keep going on a 9 times table, you're going to go to the point where you go 99999, which is 9 to the 9th power of 9, which is the highest. But it all starts with the building blocks of 3. Okay, so that's for you, Pharaoh. Yeah, so when we say the child of Ray or Ray, yeah, they all are rays, or they give out rays of light. And we are those rays as well, because we come from, when you combine everything, including us, right, you get to that first point where we all started from. So we are those rays because we have a piece of sun within us, right? Those who have a solar plexus. So that live sun within you, okay, connects with the live sun outside of you, which is 93 million miles away, which was actually, well, it fluctuates between 91 and 93 million miles away if you're saying the planet Earth to the distance of the sun. But you have the external sun, you have the inner sun, and then you have the sun within the Earth, because the Earth itself is also alive and has its own central sun. So those 3 suns have to align. This is why you have to ground yourself with your feet with the Earth, Mother Nature, to get the energy from the ground, but that's coming from the inner Earth or the inner sun. Within your sun, to your sun within you, to the outer sun, and the 3 of them must align when you're doing like certain, like when we were doing the Mugaraj. The Mugaraj was the ceremony that, you know, you did on Tamaray with the mirror, the black mirror or the black pyramid, where you would go on that inner journey, in that labyrinth. Okay, so very important question to deal with the 3 sons of risk. All right, let's keep going. Who else is in the house with the questions? Adrian, greetings. I was purchasing books since 1990s. Bulls Pond Road. Need to catch up. Yeah, come to Nashat. Yeah, we were there, and no longer there. Now you have to come to Nashat when you can, and link up, and then you can catch up. And you know, we got books galore. That you can get. The master teacher. See, you're talking about the 1990s, yeah. One of the things that people that haven't been around for a while, we want everyone to come back home. Everyone come back home and get updated and get involved, help out, and you know, we need everyone's assistance and participation. So come down, and you can get updated. But what I wanted to say about the 90s is that he used to say, Adrian, if you remember, I come giving you what you want, so you learn to want what I have to give. And what he had to give was Wu-Sabat and wu-nuwapu, which he attempted to do initially, but he had to put it away until we were ready. So in 2000 is when the renewal, or the renewal of the cycle, the 24,000 year cycle, and that's when he started giving what he came to give. And from 1970 to the year 2000, which was that first half hour, he was literally giving us what we wanted, because every time he started to give us what he came to give, we would ask him questions on religion. So he covered all those Abrahamic religions, took us back all the way back past the Sumerian, back to the ancient Tamaraean, or what people call Egyptians, but we're talking pre-dynastic. Took us back there, completed that. The Holy Tablets was out in around 95, 96. And so by the year 2000, most of the people who left before he started to give us what he came to give in his full form as wu-nuwapu or Wu-Sabat, you know, putting out the actual facts. The Holy Tablets completed religions and expired in the year 2000. So from that point, he started giving Wu-Sabat. And Coincidentally, in 2002, he gets incarcerated or kidnapped or falsely accused and gets kidnapped. So a lot of people are not aware of the hereafter doctrine, which is from the actual facts. So when you see me holding up these scrolls, right, you see actual fact. Yeah, actual fact. These big ones like the Akasha records. Yeah, actual fact. When you see like this, the proof, actual fact, right? And then we started to get these called Partaruk. This one is called I Was There, which is here. Okay, goes into the birth before our planet, what took place, the birth of the universe. You see, so I'm telling you that because you're saying in the 90s, you have to come now to the 2000, and now we're in 2025, where he's given us actual facts, and then you have the master's secrets. Okay, so this is what we're referring to as the hereafter doctrine, where you have the actual facts, master secrets, Partaruk, which means the way. You need to get that and come up to date so that you can really elevate from where you left off. All right, great question though. All right, let's keep going. Okay, strawberry letter. The English accent, letter. Strawberry letter. Let me pronounce it properly. So strawberry letter. How are we doing on TikTok? How you all doing? Great. Okay. Where can I get the books? Yeah, we're posting the links in the chat. You can get the books from the official United Sabins Worldwide website and the chat.co.uk. Okay, let's keep going. Strawberry letter. Being that there are so many scams, is the meditation music actually accurate? Can you post ones that have the high frequency levels for healing, cleansing, etc.? I want to thank you for all time. Yes, you're right, strawberry letter. This we got you. This is why we are here. This is why we put out the right tones, vibrations, and frequencies on the OSM Vision channel. The visualizations on there, right? We made it so that it can last a whole day. You can go to sleep and wake up and it's still on. All right. So we put those tones on there. We've got the visualization. We've got the healing bowls, the authentic healing bowls, right? And we have we got a few. So just check out OSM Vision, and you're right, because people will tune into certain tones and frequencies, because on social media now people will be posting all kinds of tones telling you that this is for healing or this is for this or for that. And if you're not a musician or you don't have the right equipment to check out whether or not the hertz and the vibration or the frequencies are accurate, you could be damaging yourself without knowing it, because sound can heal and sound can destroy and be destructive. So we know that the right tones, and if you're a musician or someone who really understands music and knows the tones, then you can, make sure that it's not even just the tone, it's also the instruments and how those tones were generated or put together, you see. So you're right, great question, and we got you. That's why we put those tones on the OSM Vision, where you can listen to them, and you can actually feel it as well, because you're also an instrument, that you've been set to vibrate, if you're a Nagaru, or in the right vibration of the A tone, okay? And the Schumann resonance, which like the musical instruments have been tuned to 440 hertz, but it's really 432, you see. So, and there's other temperaments that you can tune to as well, because people are different. Based on what tone you're vibrating at the moment, you'd need to tune yourself to the right one, and that would be A. And then you have to tune yourself to the frequency of the planet, or nature, okay, which is going to be F. And then beyond, outside of the planet, you're going back to the original tones and vibrations of the universe, which ties in with the cosmos. And that would be the tone of C, you see. So C major, all of these are major tones that I'm giving you. Not flat and not too high, which is sharp. So you have to be on the major. And then you have unison, which is everyone that is on the same note. We're all chanting or vibrating on the same, say A. We're all on A, but at different octaves. Then we're in unison. But then when you want to have harmony, you're dealing with some people on F, some are on A, and some are on C, and chanting together. That creates harmony, where you have, it's not just one note playing melodies or melodic. It's more together, and they're coming together as harmony. Okay, this is why I gave the example of the triad and talked about the mother, the father, and the children, and the low tones or the bass clef or the treble clef, which is the higher pitched tones, and then you have the balance or the middle. So when we come together, you're on all three notes in harmony. All right. Okay, let's keep going. We've got loads of questions. I'm gonna get through them as quick as I can. Yeah, so yeah, use the tones on our website. That's how you know, and comment as well on them, and how you're feeling, because you're also an instrument. Remember to join the official Wu-Sabat Telegram group. It's in the chat. The link's in the chat. And yeah, when I was saying about everyone come together and help, it's because when we come together, and we're actually all working together, we get more done. There's more power in unity. And if you are about us uniting and working together and coming together, then you should be within the family and come and fellowship and support us in our projects and things we're doing to make sure we have the facilities and the community and everything we need to keep bringing us more and more together, so that we can, chant and heal. And so if you would like to help us and like to support, we have a project called the 100 Project, which those who are, serious about building, and we need it, we do need it. The link's posted in the chat, and you can also help with that. Let's move on to the next question. But it's about action, not just talking, and then we don't build. We need to build as well. All right, let's keep going. That's healing and cleansing. All right, we've covered that. Okay, Groove TV, Rahobat. We don't say hello because we know hell is low and low vibration. That's what we're saying. Let's raise the vibrations. Draco, do you know anything about the oversoul? Is it like a family of your soul? Yeah, the oversoul, we do have a number of pataraks that go into more detail about the oversoul. One is soul, soul, spirit, spirit. The other one is 30 spirits. So this is 30 spirits. I'll see if I can find a piece maybe to read you. Anything to do with soul, like this is soulmates, which talks about two people or the union of two souls and how that comes about and how you know and find out. Okay, so the oversoul is the higher you, and this one here, soul, soul, spirit, spirit, is the main one, which goes into detail about your soul, your spirit, the etheric you, and then the oversoul or the overbeing, which you're calling Pahu, yeah? And then you got the etheric being, the creative being, the breath of life or the living being. And yeah, it goes into the Paka'a, which is the exoplasmic being, the living being, which is Nafas, which becomes Nafish, in the religious books. But yeah, the oversoul is your higher self. So if I just read a little bit for you from page 5, right, of this Patarak called Soul, Soul, Spirit, Spirit. I'll read from verse. I'll read from verse 36. So it was talking about the female and the male and how the female gave up her divinity by submitting to the male. But so when I read from 36, it says, so let you both, female and male, reason together. 37. First, we look at the pahu, that the overbeing or oversoul, right? This is your question. Pre-existence, being of mental. So the oversoul is the pre-existent being, because when you look at the scroll called the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti, yeah, which is this scroll, we have all of these scrolls, yeah, the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti. He explains about the mental, because we also have a realm called the mental realm where we tap into by our minds, and we speak about it as the mental reservoir. But this is why you were mental first. You actually can be mental as a mental being without the need of a physical body. The physical body is only required on this lower vibrational plane, the physical plane, where we need, or the physical realm, where we need to be able to move and do things in the 3D dimension. But this Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti, right, because as you know, Tahuti is that being that wrote a lot of the information on the planet, and that's how he's depicted all the time with that the beak, yeah, which is where they get the word the quill from, because that is dealing with him being a scribe and always writing. And so there is the doctrine of the mental, which goes into a lot of detail in this Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti. But touching on your question on the oversoul, or the overbeing, is telling you that pre-existence, or when you were mental. All right, so I'm just trying to find a little section on here. But yeah, and let me go back to carrying on reading that part of that where it talks about, yeah, this is on page 59 of the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti. It gives you these doctrines, these 9 doctrines. Again, 9 being that, you know, the number 9 is the highest number. So the doctrines of truth are 9. He who knows these overstandingly possess the magic key, before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open. All right, at Samenu. So the 9 Tahuti doctrines are, upon which the entire Tahutin teaching is based, are as follows. The first one is the one we're talking about, the doctrine of mental, right? Then it goes on to the others. Number 2, the doctrine of correspondence, right? The correspondence, that's connected to and fro, communicating. Then you got the third one, the doctrine of vibration. So you have to understand and master these, like the doctrine of vibration. How does energy, you know, relate? How does things vibrate, right? Number 4, the doctrine of polarity. Remember I was saying about the 2 sides, yeah? You've got the polarity between the 2 sides. You have to know that. Number 5, the doctrine of rhythm. When you're dealing with vibration, frequencies, you're dealing with tones, music, rhythm. There's a rhythm of life, the way things flow and why they do that. Right? So there's the doctrine of rhythm, number 5. Number 6, the doctrine of cause and effect. How do you affect your surroundings? Like what action causes an effect? So the doctrine of cause and effect. Number 7, the doctrine of gender. You see, because a lot of people, they just think about gender as in just the male and the female genders, but there are other genders, okay, where you may have like a hermaphrodite or a hermaphrodite, her and he morphing into something else. Okay, so there are other genders and beyond the humanoid form as well. Number 8, the doctrine of growth, because things grow. You evolve and you grow. Not just your physical body where you start off as a tadpole looking sperm and you grow physically, but you're also growing spiritually, you're growing mentally, you're growing in your other beings if you're actually putting in the work. And finally, the doctrine of breathing, you see, because without breathing, you're not alive, are you? So that goes into, as I said, the mental. Go back to verse 36 in the Patarak, soul, soul, spirit, spirit. It says, 37, first we look at Pahu, the overbeing or oversoul, pre-existence being of mental. 38, and then we look at Pa-Ach-Ach, the etheric being or creative expression, which is linked to all as an energy double. Then we go into 39, Pa-Ach-Ach, the arc vibrates on 1 through 10 levels, and 10 is only a repeat of the first level on higher dimension. So this is why I keep saying that when you go from, I use 1 because people always leave at 0, but in our language we don't. We start from 0, yeah. So we say Safu, not just go to Wahoo, which is 1. But anyway, from 1 to 9, Tasu, number 9, you go to 1, 9, and when you go to 10, it's a repeat, or you're starting again, a new cycle. So then you go from 10, you do another 9, you go to what? 19. Right? And then from 19, you go up another 9. So 10 is only a repeat of the first level on higher dimension. And when you start to deal with these dimensions, that's why I say to you, like, if you relate it to like colors, you know, you have millions and millions of, if not billions of permutations of colors that you can make from the 3 primary colors. The same with music. You have millions and millions and millions of songs that you can write from just having those tones, those 3 tones, because each note is actually 3. As you have the note major, then you have its flat, then you have its sharp. So that's 3 in 1. Okay, the master teacher Panda Babylon has 3 tones in 1 in terms of the way he speaks, because that's a vibration. And so, yeah, so carry on from 39, 1 through 10 levels, and 10 is only a repeat of the first level on higher dimensions. So each dimension, each level can go to the 9 to the 9 power of 9. Okay, 10 is in fact 1 again. That's number 40, 41. And then we look at Pa-Ba'a, called the soul, creative expression of emotional being. 47. And there is a counter soul, right? This is so important. There is a counter soul called, in our language, Parawa, called also the soul. Okay, 43. Yet it is breath or wind, and it affects the body actions. It ignites with the first human breath of air or mixture of gases. Ether, 1, breathes the atmosphere or breath. And I'm going to stop here because it goes into more detail, but on 45, and then we look at Pa-Ka'a, called the spirit. Someone's knocking. Yeah. And then, yeah, let's get back to the question. So that hopefully answered your question about the oversoul, all right? Cool, let's keep going. There's so many questions. Yeah, Miss Property T, that refers to the question I answered before about isolation comes with growth. Absolutely. Marcy again says, Ashe, we are one. Exactly. Thank you. I shall reach out to the. Okay, these are people responding. Marcia lives in Nottingham. Yeah, Nottingham is not that far. It's a train ride. You can come down, even if it's once, so every so often. Zamal, I think my my chat has moved. So whilst you're doing that, let me have a quick look and say Rahubat to everyone on TikTok. You'll be easy. I got to get to work. Okay. Okay. All right. We don't have anything so far. Okay. So let me get back to the. Okay. Remember to share, like, subscribe. That helps the algorithm. And remember, donations will help us. So no matter what, how big or small, welcome.
The Welcome Down Arena sent some gifts to you as well.
Okay.
On TikTok.
All right. Appreciate, love you. Let's go back to the questions. Our God loves us and healing us now. Faith. Okay. What's the link between the moon cycle and mental health? Mostly people with mental health tend to deteriorate when the moon is in a certain position. Tahuti. Right. Great question. I shook Zamas again. You see, when we say the moon, we have to, if we use the correct name, which relates to lunar, right? Lunar. You can hear lunatic. And that's because there is a connection between the moon and the female is tied more into that cycle because of the waters, right? Remember when we're dealing with water, water is in our bodies as well. We are more percent liquid than we are anything else. So the tides that pull, the moon pulls them, that affect the menstrual cycles of the women as well. And I'm trying to keep it. But normally when women are on their menstrual cycle, if they haven't learned how to regulate and they're taking herbs or whatever, that's the time of the month where, you can expect any type of being from the female where they're reacting to those mental energies that the sun has a pull on the tides and, their menstrual cycle. So the link between the moon cycle and mental health is because, it does affect your mind. It affects your energy. It affects the way you act. It affects the way you deal with the energies that are that you're being subjected to during that time. And it goes back to the holy tablets, to the being known as Luna, right? Where you get the word lunar from, or lunatic from. And he was a bit deranged, and he actually was, responsible for blowing up a planet, and as you said, Kingu at the time. And so yeah, that has a relation. If you want to read more about that topic, I would advise you to read the Lotus of Life on the Sacred Feminine, by Parnabab Yanun, which goes into more detail. And I'm sure there are other scrolls as well. Oh yeah, Planet Earth is woman. That's an actual fact. That's a Planet Earth is woman is a Partarak as well. I don't know if I've got it here. I'll have a quick look. But yeah, so remember, we say the woman, but the woman is connected to the man because the man comes from the woman. So when they're going through what they're going through, yeah, I do have it. The planet Earth is woman. They then affect you because in your environment, You hear the phrase happy wife, happy life. So you do get affected by their condition at the time or what they're going through. So it does affect everyone. I'm just trying to see if I can find something relating to. But you notice when females get together and they're all in harmony, they can synchronize their menstrual cycle and become one and work together. And, you know, they're kind of much more controlled in terms of how they manage their cycles, and they can share information where, you know, they will know what herbs to take and so on. And remember that the women came first and they spoke first. I'm trying to find anything that I can read to you that kind of relates to that. Okay, there's a bit here that's really interesting. Yeah, let me touch on that. So I'm gonna go back to, I'll read 2 pages. So tying to what I said about the women being first able to speak, I'll go from verse 44. You were given speech 54,000 years ago in Afafreye Ka'a, Africa. 45. And led you only you to the portals of this realm. Okay. 46. Parnatharu made guardians of the gateways to be born. Neutral gender, right? That ties into what I was saying about the hermaphrodite and hermaphrodite. So they were neutral gender. 47. To know and keep the way to the portals. Parbawab Dawam, the gateway vortex, or Babilu in Sumerian, which means the door to Nan-Nar, their god Bab or Baal. This doorway is now the southeast gate. They have all the monotheistic religions facing the east when they pray, not knowing they have redirected their energy to a demon. 48. The truth is the entrances of the gates have shifted with the reshifting of the 23-degree axis of the planet. So where the planet was at 23 degrees, it's now being shifted. 49. So what was once the east gate has now shifted in the position of the southeast gate. 50. The southeast gate is where those who have passed from this life will be able to pass back to this world or physical realm. Those including disembodied spirits. 51. These spectres or demons are waiting to pass back into this world through this gate for their own purposes and can torture the spirit passing on who has not made that connection with their Salafu or ancestors, for then they are without guidance. 52. The spirit being must have made contact with their Salafu ancestors while here on Taha or earth, because it is they who will guide you as you pass through the gate after you have made your transition from this world to the next. 53. They will protect you and fight for you. 54. However, what was the northeast gate or our exist has also shifted. 55. So it is very important to connect with your family, and we must have everything and everyone in place before these gateways are reopened. 56. The gatekeepers, also referred to as Muknashtatu, hermaphrodites, and Muknashu, hermaphrodites. 57. The original unison beings who vibrate twice as powerful as non-neuter gender male and female, or XX and XY to XYX and YXY, the deities. This is what I was saying about other genders, right? Not just XX and XY. 58. This is what females as women should not forget. She is unlike all other living creatures and the trustee of a divine mission in her very physical body as the monthly shapeshifter. So during that monthly cycle, women do shapeshift, right? 59. For a woman not only gives life to a mortal being, she also bears a spark of divinity in her to the earth, taha, earth. And there can be no greater responsibility. 60. Many unknowingly gave up this divine right by mixing their body fluids with children of the beast in black skin. 61. They slept and exchanged their fluids, and in doing so lost their virginity and divinity. 62. Then became used, going from man to man, male to male, and some even with man's kind. 63. They must be cleaned inside out and outside in. 64. In order to regain their divinity and powers. All right. 65. The eye that oversees earthly things is ever watchful and knows who did not know better or best. 66. The right eye that sees spiritual things is true. 67. Then, because of the things that happen, the great right eye of Ray, that saw truth was closed, and henceforth women walked in falsity. 68. Unable to perceive truth, women fell from grace and saw only that which deceives them, lust and luster. 69. And so it was to be until their awakening. 70. Not knowing Parnatharu, men and women worshipped Ka'u, spirits, Tarafu, ghost, spectres, and nature looked at the actual sun in the Parpatat, the sky, as the deity over the earth, called earth spirits, because they seemed, 71, because they seemed to provide and supply their needs. 72. Parnatharu were not displeased, for such is the nature of children when they fear the unknown. 73. They created unseen deities, monsters to depend on with no help at all. 74. For 6,000 years you worship what or who you know not, what spookism or spirits of others dead. 75. For 6,000 years your eyes have been closed in a sleep like nawam, the spell of sleep, a spell of ignorance. 76. As children you have to relearn your way, the way, tarak. 77. And no longer children, and when no longer children, you must put aside childish things. All right. I could go on and on, but it does go in and it starts to tie into the relationship between the female and the moon, and how, when she come together and become one, how, we can really affect change, because it's all about the female right now. It's you that have to regain and take back your rightful position, okay, as the daughters of Sabatat or Sirius, yeah, where you came from originally. And it's saying that obviously the last 6,000 years, the spell of Kingu, which ties into the moon, is why people are blinded, and that it has ended, and males must restore the females, and the females must restore themselves. The women must regain her divinity by way of Wu-Sabat. And if you haven't got this part of that, you really do need to get it as a sacred feminine. And it's called The Planet Earth is Woman. All right, let's get back to the questions.
Donation.
Okay. Appreciate love your donation, Michi Jones. Is the Dendera the original zodiac? Can you explain Parna Nato Merit? What is her role and what is her role? What's going on here? Okay, what is her role and importance? Also, does her name change throughout history? Right, the Dendera is the original Dendera. But I know what you mean, like zodiac, or the word zodiac comes into the word zoo, because they looked at it as, you know, the different natures of the animals. And then, yes, you're right, they grafted the Dendera into what people call the zodiac signs today. But the word zoo comes from zodiac, which is dealing with the animals. And yet the female, they were gatekeepers. And if you look at the Dendera, you're always going to see, you know, two people. This is what we were just reading when we're dealing with the hermaphrodites and hermaphrodites, who were actually the gatekeepers. And they were responsible because they had that double resonance frequency to open the stargates. And that's the importance of their role. And but yeah, the females obviously are, as I just read from the planet Earth is a woman, that it all ties into the Patrak Pa Bananu, which deals with the gates, and then ties into being the golden child. Yeah, because the golden children, that's the ones that have that mafkozat, or what we call liquid gold, that is necessary when you're traveling intergalactically, or being able to open gates. And again, we actually have a master secret called Mafkozat, the elixir of life, which, you know, people are trying to fake and produce all kinds of fake liquid golds, and they call it monatomic gold and things like that. But yeah, so that is the importance, and the name does change throughout history. It's just like, you know, when you hear the word, we actually have a poster of the women who changed the course of history, and the women that are not really spoken about or mentioned, you know, in the monotheistic religious world, that is more focused on the patriarch as opposed to the matriarch. And these great powerful women, they did change the course of history, and then their names also changed throughout history. So even when you say Eve, for example, because they changed that name to say she was naive, but really she was known as Nekeba, which is tribal leader, because she was a tribal leader. But as you say, the names do change through history. Okay, Master says, true talk, we would shut everything down. That is why they don't want us together. 100%. But that's what I'm saying. We don't have to fall for the narrative. Come together. All right. We know now Babylon is. Okay. Keep going. Next question. Did Moses really split the seas, or it's another story of a guy that stayed straight for days? Yeah. No, he didn't. And yeah, it's not even the Red Sea, it was the Reed Sea. But yeah, you're right. It's sensationalism and, you know, distortion of what actually really took place. Firstly, you can't even prove that he existed. There's no such person called Moses. These are characters that were made up. Oh, is that another donation from Ted? Ted07. Appreciate, love your donation. Okay, let's go. What's the connection between Horus, Tutankhamun, and Thoth? How accurate is the mainstream story of Tutankhamun's life compared to what actually happened? Is there explanation for him having? Yeah, there are distortions. Remember the way I said it. I didn't say Tutankhamun. That's how most people would say. But the name is Tut Ankh, as you say, Amun. And yeah, he was a golden child. And if you read the part of that golden children, or the golden children, it goes into more detail about who he is, because he's that that being. Remember that what they were basically trying to figure out is him reincarnating, right? Because Amun, as the sun, is that being that keeps coming back over and over and over again. And in the same way that the child being born, as in Parnabab, when he was being prepared as an avatar to come back, it's a reincarnation. So yes, Tut Ankh Amun. Oh man, we got so much information in terms of this, the coming forth by day, which most people know as the the Book of the Dead, goes into more information about him. But yes, the being they call Horus, the relation is because they took that story, right, of Tutankhamun. There's also a actual fact called, what's it called? Not procession change. It escapes me right now, but make sure you're in the Telegram group and we will find it and post it. That goes into it a lot more detail. But yeah, they took the story of Horus being that, because remember the whole story of Osiris, well, let's go back, Seth and Osiris, where Osiris was unalived and cut into 14 different pieces, and there's symbology and there's also there's symbology in the story. But so the story of Osiris and Isis, and how Isis was able to then give birth and produce this son called Horus, is the whole like story of reincarnation, right? They talk about the Immaculate Conception and how they took that and grafted it into your God, Mary, and Jesus story. And obviously they stopped pushing forward the woman because it became patriarch worship and all of that. But you're right that that story does tie in to that whole reincarnation of Tutankhamun as that child that was born again to bring about the new cycle. All right. And when you say Thoth, Thoth is referring to Tahuti, right? Because Tahuti is who the Greeks grafted into the being Thoth. And then they refer to him as Hermes. Okay, so Hermes Trismegistus, which is dealing with three. Again, the trial, the three. They say thrice as great. And when I touch on that sacred wisdom of Tahuti, that goes into that as well. Let me see if I can quickly read that piece for you. So, yeah, that's how they relate. But the names all change because when you're saying Horus, you're really saying Haru, or the being. But like I said, that story does go back and tie into okay, here we go. Shall I read that? Okay, I'll just read a little bit. I'll read from page 4 where it says, originally named either Zehuti or Zehuti by the Egyptians. Tahuti, Thoth, was given his better known name by the Greeks. They linked him with their own god, Theos, deity, supreme being. Hermes, Greek. He becomes the son of Zeus and Maya, and Zeus was the son of Cronus and Rhea. None of this is true. They just took this Egyptian and tried to make him theirs and change his teachings. And this Hermes was considered to be the Greek theos or deity, God, supreme being of wisdom, writing and invention to the Greeks. They get their word theos from the Egyptian supreme being Theris or Theres, a goddess of women in childbirth, protectress of babies. This is the word used in your Bible, New Testament in the Greek, for God. Tahuti was also the messenger and spokesman of the Nitirat or Natharu, supreme beings, as Tahuti, and finally a lunar Natir or supreme being under the sun god Re or Ra, Re. You can see the Greek's word theos came from the hieroglyphic word Tahuti or Thoth. Okay. Yeah, so it's beautiful being amongst you guys with all the great questions you're asking, and we never seem to have enough time. We could be here all day answering questions. Right, let's keep going. Okay, some people are just making comments. Right, Enrique Torres. I guess the question is, how do you connect to your family on the other side? We give you all that information and how to do it through the rituals. And let me just emphasize, none of our rituals deal with anything to do with blood sacrifices or any type of sacrificing in the sense of physical things, hair, blood, animals, none of that, right? The sacrifice is in you yourself, maybe sacrificing the six ether things you've been doing that you need to sacrifice and get rid of so you can get back into yourself, and the time that you sacrifice to put into working on yourself, that type of sacrifice, which is not anything to do with destroying anything. All right, so in that sense, yes, but we do give you what to do. That's why we keep saying, come inside, come and be part of the family, join our Telegram groups. We share all this information freely. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to, gosh, this is gonna be difficult though. The book I want to get to is right here. But yes, I'll leave it. But yeah, I'm talking to the brother Pharaoh. Yes, the name got changed from Ankh Atun, yeah, from Atun, because remember that when you look at ancient Egypt, you had segregation in the sense where you had different dynasties and people were following this dynasty and so forth. And what he was trying to do is unite North and South and bring them back together into the, as you say, the worship of one as Amun. And so, yeah, you're right, it did change from Atun to Amun. But yeah, that scroll, the coming forth by day, goes into a lot of that information and detail, as well as the ancient Egypt and the pharaohs goes into that as well. I'm sure you've got that scroll, Zamal, so check that out. But yeah, you're right, it was Ankh-Atun was trying to, because there was a separation of Atun and Amun, but he tried to bring them together under one. All right. Miss Proper TT, like, if you have questions, ask your questions. This is not church where you're just preaching and saying things like our God is faithful and loves for us to, because we in Wu-Sabat, we go into which God are you talking about? Who is this God that you're talking about? Because we've already exposed and broken down the gods of religion who are extraterrestrials that are fooling people into following these books and doing the things to please them. So This is not this is not church, and we don't preach, and you don't seem to have any questions. If you have a question, we will address it. All right, and we deal with truth. But I'm not having a go at you. I'm just saying sometimes people just they just come on the platform and they just try to impose their doctrine or their Christianity or Islam or whatever religion they're under, whereas Wu-Sabat predates all religion, and we give you the actual facts and give you information that it's of a higher vibration and consciousness, so you can actually raise yourself. All right. All confusion must not live. Absolutely, we're here to extinguish. Religion is dead, as I keep telling you, and those that are still caught up in it are just dealing with the residue. But eventually, people are gonna wake up and deal with actual facts, because really, religion can't handle the questions of Wu-Sabat. When we ask questions like, okay, you've got all kinds of divisions and hatred and wars and all kinds of things happening on the planet, but yet you claim there's a God or Allah or someone who can click his finger and, in the case of Islam, say kun fayakun, and that means be, and it is. But yet when we say, why doesn't he do that to get rid of the hatred, the war, the racism, the divisions of religion and the fighting and all of that, all of a sudden he doesn't show up? You see, so Wu-Sabat will ask you those questions, and don't make excuses for him either and say things like he's going to do it soon or he's going to do it in his own good time. So he likes to see or watch people suffer then. And soon, it's not a date and a time, because people have said Jesus is coming back soon, over 2,000 years ago. We're still waiting, you see. So Wu-Sabat will get to those difficult questions and address the things that religion cannot deal with. So, yeah, your experience, I see you just said, we must all God, all me as my experiences. Your experience is your experience. Nobody can deny someone's experience, but your experience is not going to be my experience or anybody else's experience. So you can have an experience and you can be convicted in that experience. You can believe it, but it's just your experience, you see. But what people in religion do is they try to convince everyone else to kind of follow their experience or their belief or what they think. And we're like, no, let's deal with the actual facts. Yes, we must be taught truth. That's what we do. That's what we're teaching. That's why we allow you to question us and go and research and check things out and study and have knowledge, because to know is to have knowledge. To believe is to not know the facts. It's to not prove what you're saying, because it's based on I believe, I believe, I believe. No one can teach unless taught. Exactly. But you have to be taught the right things. Yeah. So that's why we've been taught by the master teacher. He's the master at teaching. And you only have to read the books and study and watch and listen to what he has taught over the years, and the longevity and still going in comparison to anybody else on the planet, to know that he teaches nothing but truth. And that's why we as his students have been taught by him to teach. And once you learn, you are then supposed to also teach other people. You know, hear the phrase, each one teach one, you know. So okay, let's move on to the next question. Mitchie Jones, is the coming of Christ just an alignment of planets that creates a conjunction? I mean, people nowadays are interpreting it in all sorts of ways, but originally they were telling you that he was going to, it depends what book you're reading and what reference you're coming from, but it's really talking about the day and time we're in, where those teachings would be made clear by one who has been sent to come and renew and set the record straight, one that is none other than Panababyanun, and to bring in this new sun cycle called the Golden Age, the Age of Aquarian, you know, the sun cycle, and bring in the truth, which is going to make all false things perish, because you cannot stand on false information. You have to deal with truth. So yeah, people call it the Christ consciousness, people call it the Golden Age, the Golden Cycle, all kinds of names, but we know what it is, and it's dealing with the coming of this being known as Panababyanun for the resurrection and the salvation of those beings. There's a scroll we've got called the Bridge to Salvation that goes into what you're asking about in this day and time. Okay. Okay, I can't find it, but yeah, the Bridge to Salvation. Oh, I love that. I'm starting to, yeah, Miss Proper TT, I'm definitely liking what you're saying. Our people need land now. Yes, that's why we keep talking about the projects we're working on and the things we're doing which need help and support, so we can do that. I mean, it's not that deep. We just need to come together, yeah, and build. And we had, as you know, land we built already, and we're continuing to do so. So that, I'm definitely with you on that 100%. So if you'd like to build, Miss TT, it's not just saying it, it's not just talking it, it's how do we do it? Do we come together? And we have projects like the 100 project that we have going on right now to do that. And I've posted a link in the chat. You can check it out, and let your actions speak for themselves. Okay. So why stop what I'm saying? I haven't stopped anything you're saying. I'm just dealing with if you're dealing with the religious aspect of things, and you know, you're making statements or saying things like, you know, obviously we don't, when you're dealing with religious things, I don't really know you. I'm just saying that the religious aspect of the things you're saying, we have to correct, because we also know that religion is what causes the divisions and the spell that people are on. So we just have to correct what you're saying. But anything that is in alignment with right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding, right action, right thinking, we're going to be in alignment with that. So I'm not stopping what you're saying. I'm just saying be clear in terms of when you're given the religious connotations, we have to address them. You just said, I'm building right now in real time. Yeah, we build in many ways. Are you talking about building as we're building, or are you talking about actual physical buildings? And if you're saying I am, that's you. But, you know, we're talking more of a collective and working together. Okay. See, there you go again with I put in God's will. And I'm just saying we have to know what you mean by God's will. Because okay, no religion. All right, cool. All right, well, come. I don't know where are you based, Miss Proper TT. Where are you based? If you let me know where you're based, we can see where you building and where you based, so that we can put you in contact. No, I mean, where are you based physically? You don't have to give me like the you know, any personal identifying information. Oh, ATL. Okay. We have family in ATL, Atlanta, Georgia. We have people in Atlanta. You can connect with them and build and work together and see how, you know what I mean, you can actually grow. Okay, looks like I've answered all the questions, but let me check up on our TikTok family. How you all doing? We're still here. Is anyone else? Any questions? Nope. All right, cool. Let me just scan through the questions again to see if I missed anything. Thanks for darkening me. Yeah, that's amazing. You should say that. Look out for a video coming out that we did dealing with the whole darkening and enlightenment, right? Okay, here's from the scroll. From the scroll, the list records of time. Oh, the last. It's called the last records of time. Yeah, is the then there are the original. Yeah, we covered that. Yeah, we kind of covered that already. 12,000 years ago. Yeah, we actually have a part of that called Atlantis as well. That deals with what happened with Atlantis and that flooding that you're talking about. But yeah, there's a part of that called Atlantis. See if I've got it here. I don't seem to. Oh, here you go. There it is. So we got this part of that called Atlantis. And because I don't really see that many questions I haven't answered, I'm going to touch on this a little bit. Yeah, this is interesting. So this is actually, yeah, let me go from, I'm going to read from verse 17 on page 2, yeah? And Ptah later became a consort of Sakamtat. Together they birthed sons and daughters. The sons were first Amun, then Sakar, then Hap, then Sabak, then Emhutep, then Zehutui. 18. Those were the sons born on Sabatat, Wu-Ptah Nun, to Ptah Wu-Sakamtat in times past. 19. Each of their sons were guardians over the creatures of Ptah Nun. 20. Amun was over the bovine. 21. Sakar was over the fowl lines. 22. Hap over the mammalians, or 23. Sabak over the reptilians. 24. Emhutep over the humanoids. 25. The Huti over the simians. 26. Each in his own. 27. In the record of Mesopotamia, it was recorded on stones and scrolls. 28. That the offspring of the Elohim were males and females of both Karabu, which is Karabim or Cherubim, and Sarabu, Seraphim or Seraphim, who came from the skies. 29. And also were known as Moloch and Malak. 30. In the scrolls of the Hebrews, it was recorded to put the blame on the female for what Karabu, who raped them, did. 31. And for their wicked offspring of giants did in the earth. 32. It was told that the female made Natharu angry, and Nisut Ptah took himself back to the skies. 33. Removing the right to Sahat, that's dealing with, and Sabatat, yeah, the Orion, the Sirius and Orion from the humanoids. That's how you were restricted because of this, because of his disgust for the women. 34. It is also told that he, the male, offended Nisut best by imitating the Panatharu. 35. Yet these are all lies made up by the ruler of Karabu, Masa Karab, who is called by many names and titles. 36. This became the lies of their beginnings. 37. Thus was not the right knowledge, the right wisdom, or the right understanding, sound right reasoning. 38. For the sacred records reveal the truth as par Madatat, actual facts from Panatharu. 39. And all that happened was not told in truth. It was nothing more than lies of the liars. Right? this is such a heavy scroll. It goes on, and then it like you say, it's giving you the beginnings in terms of the real truth about these beings, and then it's going to go into Atlantis and the beings of Atlantis. I'm just looking to see if there's any specific bits I want to relay. Yeah, you kind of like have to read the whole thing to tie everything in properly. So me just getting to a specific bit is gonna throw you off without having read the other parts. Man, there's so much. Parnabab goes into so much detail about questions that people ask. But yeah, get hold of Atlantis. If you haven't got it already, let's have a look. Are there any other questions? Oh yeah, so that part, the other part of you, how does that affect time to this day? Most people don't know what time it is now because they've messed about with the time. That's why now you're thrown off. You're not in tune with nature. You know, the clocks go back and forth. They tell you today is this day, but it's all based on the Gregorian calendar. And, you know, you get days that like leap years, and so time is off. And that's why you got to go back into the right time and calendar of Wu-Sabat. Or even just like, if you're going to use Bible references, you should be using the Adam's calendar and not the one that you're following today. But obviously we have our own time and our own calendar, how we know the signs of when things are going to happen, and have been able to tell people way in advance of things that are going to happen before they happen, because we're using real time. We're in tune with nature. We're in tune with the sun. All right. Right, let's see if there are any other questions.
What can you say about telekinesis?
I mean, that's very broad. Telekinesis is like learning and having that power to be able to move things, and you know, using the energy and the vibration within you. Remember, you're an electromagnetic being, so you have electricity, you have magnetism, you have all of that within your being, and you're able to, with the knowledge, like I mentioned, with your higher powers or your higher senses. In ancient Egypt, you were taught these things. You know, alchemy was something like how you transform base metals, and you're able to, as you said, you have within your being every element, and whether it's zinc, iron, gold, name it, it's within you. And so learning those skills or the ability to use magnetism or be able to move things, right? These are things, levitation, teleportation. These are all sciences that we were taught, you know, in the mystery schools of Egypt. And that's how, you know, when people say, oh, Jesus was walking on water, that's levitation and moving across, you know what I mean, any type of environment, you know, being able to, excuse me, I need some water, being able to transport yourself from one place to the next. These are all the sciences that when we actually get to that point where, as students that sit and sup with the master teacher, he can convey and teach these things back to us. And the schools that he was setting up, like the ancient and mystical order of Melchizedek, these were schools that he was starting to teach certain things. The ancient Egyptian order, these are things where you get taught certain things, but you have to be in those orders, and it takes you doing some work on yourself. So yeah, I mean, it's just learning what abilities you have when you're dealing with telekinesis. It's about, you see people are able to use their mind and use their hands and are able to move things. But most can only do it in in small doses. They can only do it now and again. It's not something that you can just do all the time or have the ability to control it. And that's why we keep talking about when you receive your barythry gland, if you're fortunate enough to, you can, have these powers. But there are things we need to do to be able to make those things happen, where we can have temples and have, places where you can go to and be taught this. We teach a lot of this information, but not openly to everyone who, do you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, I just want to know for the sake of knowing. But are you worthy? And can you be responsible with having such powers? You see, so yeah, I mean, it's very broad to just say, what do I think about it? It's like, great, if you can do it and use it for good and you know what you're doing. It's learning, isn't it? It's knowledge, it's having that ability. Yeah, remember to press that share, right? To share this screen, like it, comment. Let's spread right knowledge. Yeah, Tanisha Rahubat, welcome. Karima Rahubat. Yeah, we got harmonized vibrational frequencies. Rahubat family. Let me see if there's any other questions. I love the drums. It takes me to another level. Yeah, the drums is part of that doctrine of rhythm, learning how to, get back in tune with nature. And it's a natural instrument if you've got the right drum with the right skin and the right tone and tuned properly. But you can also beat the drum and beat certain patterns that can also bring you to negative beings. That's why it's important to know that for every positive, there's an equal negative, and you've just got to be clear and know what you're doing to tune in. But yeah, rhythm is part of our connection by way of the soul. Okay. First there was what? Darkness, exactly. Triple darkness. Going back to the 3 again. There's 3 to the 3 to the 3. For me, it was like I was lifted in the... Okay, I think people are talking about an experience. No questions. Okay, I walk barefoot and grass a lot to ground, Zamal. Okay. What is the science of the word abracadabra? That actually ties into Abraham, to be honest. You can actually hear it. Abraham, abracadabra, but it ties into really when they went to clean up the Caucasus Mountains and what they call magic, but that's really dealing with magi, which became sorcery, and then, you know what I mean, like what you're calling, because when people do magic tricks or they do, it's illusions really, but they say abracadabra, isn't it? Like magic, but it's really dealing with Abraham and dealing with, like I said, sorcery and those that work iniquities on behalf of these 6 ether beings. But that's, I'm gonna have to look up that. What scroll are you referencing when you say that? But yeah, it's really the white magic of 6 ether, We actually have a Patarak called Black Magic, White Magic, and another one called, let's see if I've got it. Yeah, because it's really talking about, again, how you get fooled or beguiled with wrong information, thinking it's right information. Have I got it? Everything that we teach, you will find it has been distorted to yeah, here you go. I actually do have it. Black magic, white magic. It's a part of that goes into, because everything's turned back to front. Evil being made fair seeming. So what you'll find is that you hear terms, you hear words, and when you actually go and research and look into them, that things are being turned back to front. Yeah, so like for example, when you hear the term black magic, immediately in your mind you think that's bad, because for years that has been the program to say that black magic is bad, black is bad, but really it's not. It's whatever magic you're using. Like I said, that goes into racism and so forth when you're dealing with you know, you're black or you're considered black and called black, but then black magic is supposed to be bad because it deals with what people are using it to do, not the fact that the magic of the black people or the, you know, the alchemy more appropriately is used for good and not for bad. Whereas you also have white magic, which most people are not even familiar with, which ties into the Celts and goes into Wicca and the occult and things like that. But again, like I said, everything is turned backwards. So you think that, I'm just going to read a little bit of this. Just from, okay, so I'll go from 117, okay, which is on page 15, and it says, you have the inner power to reverse the spell and the physical disease placed in your DNA by Dawi Mukwamu, evil beings, over the 6,000 years. 118. You can destroy the evil hypnotic spell of amnesia that was cast on you, because wu-nuwapu causes the negroid to think right and take the right steps towards liberty, justice and equality amongst each other by the help of the forces of nature, Panatharu, our ancestors, divine. 119. When a religion does not allow you to think, you are no longer capable of thought, and thus you are out of your mind and under the control of another and will not progress. 120. Wu-Sabat provides all of the questions and the answers necessary to break the evil spell. 121. When Pa-Nawam, the spell of sleep, is broken and its evil results of disunity, hate for each other, disorder, apathy and oppression will pass away. In this hereafter, the 6,000 years ended, and the 24,000 years to renew our story will remove the amnesia. 122. All Negroids, Africans who accept the answers and the explanation given in Wu-Sabat and the Hakak Tal Hakak Act, actual facts, and Partarak, the way, will soon be liberated from oppression and captivity and be equal. 123. The Negroid lost their spiritual powers long ago, 6,000 years ago, all except for a few high priests. 124. The priest, high priest, the Hanutu. 124. Yet Wu-Sabat will restore and they will regain their powers. 125. By destroying Tajhal, ignorance, because without the restoration of our own spiritual powers of 9 mind, 9 ether, 126, we can never be free and equal amongst ourselves again. 127, our own spiritual powers are Wu-Sabat, wu-nuwapu. 128, as you see 3 digits, 9 or 999, 9 the highest digit in numbers before it repeats. The word digit is Latin, digitus, and means a finger, supreme mathematics. The matrix, Latin for matter, mother, matron. 129, the power to overpower 666. 130, 999 or 9 mind, 9 ether, 9 nature. Wu-Nuwapu, Wu-Sabat is our spiritual powers, our spiritual science of Nagaru, Negroids, the woolly-haired children of the heat of Pareye, the sun. 131, when you put fire close to a strain of wabar hair, it will curl into the digit 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 132, the stronger the genes, the nappier the wabar hair. 133, the weaker the genes, the thinner the fur. 134, most animals on Tahar, earth, have fur. This includes all other races. 135, only the Negroid African race of people or those who mixed with us can have hair nappy, kinky, woolly nines. All right, so that's just showing you the black magic or the power of the black magic that you have that will help you and restore you back to 9 ether. And anyone who accepts and mixes will also get back that black magic. Okay, any other questions? Someone says, Jeremiah, you missed my question. Got a few more questions. Okay, let's go back. Where did the word believe comes from? Watching from Roatan, Honduras. The word belief, you can see in the middle of it lie, right? And it's really be lie, or to lie to Eve, because that's where you get the religious lie started from in the Bible, where it talks about God telling a lie, right? Because God told Eve that if she ate from the tree in the middle of the garden, that she would die, or they would die if they eat from it. And because she was naive, she apparently got tricked by this being that they called a serpent that was in the garden, that God created and put in the garden to be the most cunning and tricky being. And he came and because she was naive, they don't even tell you how old she was, what age she was created, but apparently she was old enough for him to guiled her, and then he told her the truth. And in that case, that's where lies started, because God lied that if she eats the fruit, she was going to die. And in the Bible, it says that day, they will die that day. Not that you're going to eventually die, because that's one of the tricks that religious people say, well, you are going to die. No, it actually says they were going to die that day. And the so-called serpent told her, no, God knows that in the day that you eat that fruit, your eyes are going to be open and you're going to be like him, wise like him. And that's what the lie was. He didn't want them to be like wise like him to know good from evil. So their eyes were open once they ate of the fruit, apparently. But their eyes, these eyes were already open because they were walking around to see the tree, to see the fruit, to see this serpent. But it's all lies, because that's why they say in here lies the truth. Okay, so in books, in those books, in lies buried, which they call library. They buried the lies, right, deep. So when you say where did the word believe come from, it comes from the lies that God was telling in these books, these religious books that are full of lies. And when you start to break them down, you start to see that God just lies all the time, because he says he created man from the dust of the ground, where you can't take clay, mud and form a man. And then says the woman was taken from the man's rib, when every man on the planet comes from a woman. We can go on and on, like it's called the Holy Bible. The word holy means pure. It is not pure because it's a translation. Mistranslations of that. Many, many versions that were taken from other ancient tablets, that were taken from others, which over time became distorted, and it's just a lot of lies that people believe. And the word belie Eve is to lie to Eve and her children. You see, so we say, look, let your eyes do the looking, and it will tell you that the word belief or belie Eve, or believe, that's where it comes from lying to people and hiding the truth. And Wu-Sabat comes along and gives you the truth, the actual facts. So that's where it comes from, Enrique. Let me go to that question that someone said I missed their question. Oh, here we are, Jeremiah. Before that, Rahobat Saken and family, which scroll talks about the right calendar? It's in our culture. We actually have the calendar. We actually have our own calendar. It's called wu-nuwapu calendar, which basically goes into it. So that's the name of the scroll. Yeah, Miss Property. Yeah, people are. You're giving them good entertainment, but yeah, be patient and learn. And if you're new to Wu-Sabat, trust me, take your time, read the scrolls, come to classes, ask your questions. You will get your answers. Right, let's get to Jeremiah Youngblood. You missed my question. I asked about scrolls that talks more about the Enneads. You've mentioned coming forth by day and another while answering another question. Are there any more? Yes, there are. There's so many that oh, let me see. Even some of the Partarat goes into that. The proof definitely also talks about that. Let me see if I can find anything, because you have to remember that this scroll called the proof, the title in itself is just dealing with facts and proof that you can get about the topics that I've spoken about. Oh, this is the scroll I've been looking for this diagram. This is not related to your question, but I've been trying to find this this diagram, the farm, and it's also spoken about in the Proverbs of Yanun, which I'm going to look into another time, but very, very important. Let me see if I can find more information on the Ennead. I think you're going to find that in a lot of the older scrolls. I'm just trying to think of one off the top of my... Yeah, but are you in the Telegram group? If you are, we'll post some... we will post some more links and references. Let me see if I can find anything where... But yeah, so actually maybe the 9 that I've got will go into that as well. Let me have a quick look through this one. You know when you know where something is, but then you try to find it and you can't find it. But yeah, so you've got the 8 beings, the Ogdoads, and then you get the 9 coming out of that. We have a scroll actually called The Beginning. Yeah, that one is definitely, I don't have it on me at the moment. The Beginning, yeah, we'll have that in stock, but The Beginning goes into a lot more detail on the 9 Enneads. I think even the 9, let me see. Where's the 9? I had it. I mean, I've given you quite a few, but yeah, if you want to look at those and then come back, or we can post more in the Telegram chat. What did I do with that scroll? I saw it. Okay, let me try the 9. If I can find anything. No. Sorry, Zamal. I can't find it. But we'll definitely find it and post it in the Telegram group. So join the Telegram group if you're not in it already. Yeah, I gave you a few more scrolls because really the question is, are there any other scrolls? Yes, they are. The best one is The Beginning. If you have that, look into that. All right. Another question, Kenyan. What happens to me if all my ancestors were under religion or under influence of low vibration stuff? Who do I communicate to? Just because your ancestors were under religion doesn't mean that they're not on higher vibrations, because you can't be judged on what you didn't know. You only judge, if we're using that word judgment, on what you knew at the time. And so it's how they practiced. Even though people are in religion and may be ignorant, it's also about their hearts and their intentions and how they live their life. Because like, there are people in religion that are very agreeable people, but they just don't know about Wu-Sabat yet until you bring it to them. And they will be helpful, they'll be caring, they will be, empathetic towards people. They have good intentions. So yes, there are ancestors in your bloodline that may not have known about Wu-Sabat or were under religion, but were, good vibrational people, and you can still connect with them. But your ancestors, in terms of the generations, can go back to a point where you don't even know, because you don't know how far back, they go, where religion wasn't around and they only lived their life based on natural nature. And those know you, because some people always say, I don't know my ancestors. But if they're your ancestors and they're on the other side, they know you, so they will reach out and connect with you. And this is how they influence you, to the point where they may be the ones helping and guiding you in this physical world to come to Wu-Sabat, because they know that's what's going to help you in the afterlife. You see, so it's a two-way thing. It's not a one-way. So they will also reach out to you, the agreeable ones. All right. So you can still communicate. And a lot of them, once they cross over on the other side, they learn more, because they're not subjected to the dogmas of the restrictions of the physical world. But there are those who are also disagreeable, or that are trapped because they didn't have exposure to Wu-Sabat. And so they're now also trying to help you, because once you come over, you can help free them. So it's a two-way communication. It's a working together. This is why we talk about spirit forces, and we're dealing with etheric forces that you can connect to and call on that will help you. So it's not a one-way thing. It's you reach out to them, they reach out to you, you make a connection. Thank you very for the affirmation. Okay, Tawad Hack. Thanks for Baba. We love him. That's for Music World Creates Music. We definitely love him, and let's show that love by way of our actions, by way of being in tune with the stores, with the family, with the orders, so that you can put your energy and effort, you know, and donations, free will offerings, etc. So let's not just say it, but put it into action. And I'm not directing that at you specifically, talking to all of us. But yeah, let's put that action into motion so that we can make matter move and bring him home. Is it time for the righteous to inherit the land? Yes, but which land? Because remember, people are fighting right now over land and creating all types of chaos. And but the land that we're talking about, absolutely, you know, but you have to be in the right place to make, you know, take advantage of that. What is the real calendar? Well, it depends on who you are, because different cultures have their calendar, but we deal with Wu-Sabat, so we have our own calendar, and that's the right one, because everything in Wu-Sabat is really about giving you the actual facts and the right information. And time is not based on the Gregorian calendar. Obviously, there are alignments. It's like things superimpose each other, just like events take place, and then someone will label that event. Like if something happened now, it happened now. But, you know, because you've been given a calendar, and you will say that event that happened now is going to be based on the clock and the time and the calendar that you're using to try and label now. But it's just an event in nature. Things take place by way of nature when it's due, when it's time to happen. That's why it's important to be in tune with nature. So yeah, the closest you're going to get to it is our time. Okay, I think somebody was recommending the scroll. What is the real, the scroll actual facts, lost records of time? Yeah, the actual facts, lost record of times, it goes into the Napata player and talks about real time and natural time. So yeah, that's a good scroll to look into. Because, you know, like we use the sundial, which deals with natural time. Yep, having the land away from colonizers, that's great. That's the exact process. The secret, Michi Jones, the secret sacred temple of Sisters of Hat Haru, was that a mystery school where female pharaohs taught? Yes, it was a mystery school where the females were taught. It's really the order of the feline, and yeah, they were taught many things. But yeah, that's becomes Hathor, which becomes the being they call Isis, and many different names, Ashtaroth, and so on. But yeah, it was the school of the sacred feminine, which is dealing with the order of the feline, which we still teach today by those sisters who work their way into the orders. And that's why we keep saying, come together, And yeah, so want to just take this moment, as we've got 15 minutes before we wrap up today, to acknowledge all those people that have, because based on this question by Michi about the sacred feminine, we have, many activities that go on in the stores with the sisters, and also with those people who are sincere and want to go through the process of learning more. We have so many that have come through since Wu-Sabat has been, on OSM Vision, that we want to acknowledge those who have received they've gone through their 19-week trial that, they go through and have made, they've got their certificates and everything. So that's here in the UK, of course, and the sisters, they're meeting, and if you want to be a part of that, then you should get in contact and be able to reach out to the sisters that are, running those sessions and coming together, and that's how you get yourself involved in some of the sacred teachings of the sisters, all right? Enrique, I wish Wu-Sabat store were here in Rotan, the Bay Island of Honduras. We always say you may be that seed to start that happening, that process taking place. You just have to, you put it out there, and the power of the mind is actually so strong. So if you have other people in your local vicinity, you can kind of come together, start studying, and work and plan and work from, contacting us, and we can help you, you see. So wherever we don't have a presence in terms of a store, a temple, or a community, that's an opportunity for you to start one, So that's great that you would like one there. That's already putting it into the ethers. Okay. Yeah, I like that, Evelina, Paula. You said, I've always known the Bible is a lie. If God removed man's rib, how come men have equal ribs on both sides? Exactly. Excellent point. That's what Wu-Sabat does. We go into the details and let's make it make sense. And then those are the types of questions you will answer, you will ask, and they can't answer. But yeah, great point. What the book of black magic talk about? I touched on it before, but I read some of it as well. It talks about your power, or the power you have, the black magic that you have, that it's not negative, like how everything black is painted negative, blackboard, blacklisted, blackmail, all these words. And like I said, the witches are depicted wearing black, bad guys in movies are wearing black, good guys wear white, and it's all a gameplay. And the whole racism, black people, white people, when there's no such thing as black people and white people. It's all illusions, right? And social constructs that make people divided and fight against one another over silly things like the skin suit you're in, or the color of the skin suit you're in, when you can't help that based on your DNA, right? So what we're saying is the black magic is not bad. Yeah, look at the origins of it and what you're calling black magic. But yeah, it goes into that and more. How many ribs do you have on each side? You can just Google that information. Some questions are just as simple as just Googling it, because science and facts are actually everywhere. Yes, there are distortions and lies, but if you search, you will find it. I mean, let me see. I've just searched in Google. Humans typically have 24 ribs, range as 12 pairs with 12 on each side of your body. Yeah, someone's going to say, well, you know, Google's not whatever, but you can literally, people have actually passed on and they've donated their bodies to science, and people actually do autopsies and cut people up and count the amount of ribs. So that's not something that is not easily verifiable. Yep, 24 is the same for both males and females, 12 on each side. That's just a quick Google search. All right, so I hope that's addressed that question of how many ribs. All right, let's see. We've got more questions. We got like, it's 21:21, which is 9:09, and we have 9 minutes left. So that's on point. Let's see, in terms of the 9 ether, 9 vibration, 9 mind. Do numbers have vibrations? Yes, they do. Because everything has a vibration. Because everything actually oscillates and vibrates. Even when you say numbers, that's a tone, a frequency, right? Even when you write it down, that's still ink, and that's still, there's always vibration, movement, oscillation. Going through these quick now, as we said, we've only got 9 minutes left. Okay. Yeah, the Bible is lying about that rib thing. Was Nibiru here? This is Ted07. Was Nibiru here during the 18th dynasty? Also, could you touch on the 18th dynasty a bit? What made it so significant? Yeah, Nibiru was here during that time, because you're talking about going back billions of years. Remember, even the crash of Nibiru onto Tiamat, that's 24 billion years ago. So Nibiru was around. Nibiru is in an orbit. It's just that during that crash, the orbit changed to a Shah. Trying to remember how long that is, but yeah, it changed the orbit. But it's always been on a different. It was on a different orbit. So again, what book are you referring to when you're talking about the 18th dynasty, and why do you say what is it significant? I mean, it just marked the beginning of a new kingdom, because the different dynasties were based on the different pharaohs. But it's referring to okay. Do you know the story of why it's significant? Because do you know Akmos and I can't remember his name. I can't remember his brother's name. Because they basically they expelled the Hyksos, what we call the Hyksos, or the Hyksos dynasty. They fought and expelled them out of Egypt. So I guess that's significant, because when Khufu opened the or he relaxed the immigration laws, if you want to call them that, like now you see there's a big thing about immigration all the time with they say the boats and people coming into you know what I mean, to Europe, from Europe into, say, the UK and stuff. And so you're dealing with the Hyksos and certain people that came into, they were invaders basically. They came into Egypt, and there were battles, and Akmos and I can't remember the other brother's name, but they basically they fought and drove out the Hyksos dynasty, who were, you know, invaders basically, and tried to keep them away from it was like the beginning of the what we call the golden age. And it's just like what you call the colonizers. Like if you watch Black Panther, where they were trying to get into Wakanda and they got driven out, but eventually they still came in. And but yeah, that's why it's significant, because of the fact that they were successful in defeating and expelling the Hyksos dynasty. We're coming to the last 5 minutes. Let me see. Who was that? Yeah, Ted07. That was a great question about the Nibiru and the 18th dynasty. Touch on it a bit. What made it significant? Okay, I've covered that. Yellow Woman, is Skinny Bob a real extraterrestrial? Have you seen the video? No, I haven't seen the video. I don't even know who Skinny Bob is, but yeah, until I look into it, I don't know if it's. You just said, is it a real extraterrestrial? Have you seen the video? No, I won't. I won't comment on something I haven't seen. I'll look into it, and maybe next week I'll look into it. But I'm not familiar with Skinny Bob. Oh gosh, again, Hazel Campbell. My question is been overlooked.
She just asked for the Zoom link for Saturday.
Oh, have you given it to her? Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, sometimes the screen jumps and moves, so I might miss a question, but just ask it again. Thank you for your teaching. Okay, we've covered that. Is Seken an Egyptian name? It depends. No, it's a Nuwapian name. All right. Because when you say Egyptian, again, Egypt is it's really a Greek rendition from Aegyptos or Egyptos, dealing with burnt faces. That's what it was talking about, relating to the Hyksos or the Hyksos dynasty, and they were the ones that were burnt when the sun was attacking them because of a lack of melanin. So we don't really call ourselves Egyptians. People might say Tamaraean, or they go to words like Kemet, but that ties back to the Bible with Ham. We really Nuwapian, so it's a Nuwapian name, okay? So that's for you, Sir Akmos. When you are given a name by the master teacher, it's like a 3-part name, which ties into your acceptance into the ancient Egyptian order, and that's how we get those names. But obviously, since he's not been around, some people have just chosen names to use correct tones until the time when they receive the ancient Egyptian order name. Okay, this is probably the last question because it's 28 now, past 9. This is from Crack Nerds Goldberg. In my country, Tanzania, I can fly, use plates or ride. I can fly, use, I think that's meant to be planes, or ride or hyenas and pass through walls using juju powers, and some part they use Quran for magic. What you can say about this? It's not. What do you mean? What I can say about this? It's not a question that people claim all kinds of things, and yeah, I mean, actual fact. If we were there, we can put it to the test and see it. But like I said, people have their experiences. I don't know. I don't know if some of it is spelling mistakes. Because when you say I can fly, use plates, or are you saying planes, or ride a hyena? Okay, pass through walls. What, physically? Using juju powers. We can go on and break down what juju is and where it comes from, and are you talking about using the Quran for magic? I mean, that's all hearsay. So speculation, hearsay, until we see it and we prove it and put it to the test. That's your experience and your saying, all right? Okay, last question for the day. I'm so glad I'm free from religion. Okay, great. Okay, no more questions. Thank you so much, student teacher. That's from Sonny Fro. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, spread the word. Yeah, Wu-Sabat is the future. OSM, our souls matter. OSM is the channel where you get your questions answered. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell.